Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Me First Mornings with me, your host, Patricia Ribeiro Wolfson. Thank you for being here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And it is a special day. It is November 11th in Canada, Remembrance Day, and here in the US, Veterans Day. A beautiful day to remember the sacrifice that the service members of our nations have made so that we can be free. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I just want to acknowledge and say thank you so much for anyone out there who is a service member, who is married to a service member, and who has lost any service members along the way. Today, we honor you and thank you for your service. Okay, now I'm going to be talking about exciting things today, so I hope you're ready. So, I'm the host of a show called Soul Seekers TV. I'm an intuitive coach, an energy healer, a wife, and a mom of 3 boys. And my mission is to teach you how to number 1, calibrate your energy, number 2, how to integrate self care into easy and doable steps, and number 3, how to embrace and own your natural gifts to achieve a life you love. Sounds easy enough, right? Okay, so just if you're here, please say hello. Let's see, where are we doing? Where I'm just checking out my chat, making sure that it's on. Please feel free to share. And also, if you are on YouTube, go ahead to Jumpstart for a change and subscribe and ding the bell for notifications and make sure that you follow all of the videos that I am putting out there. And I would love for you to share them. Good morning, Mom. Nice to see you. Yes, my mother watches my show. I guess that's a good sign. And my dad is here too. Oh, I know why they're here too. Well, they are usually here to support me, but today's topic is was inspired by a heated conversation that I had with my dad and with my mom too. Yeah, my mom's laughing. LOL, exactly, right? So, we're going to be talking about labels. We're going to be talking about whether or not they're helpful, right? Is it helpful to attach yourself to a label, to add a label, to, connect with the label title or, something that you can name? Or is it limiting once you put yourself or you acknowledge that this label applies to you? Are you boxing yourself in? Are you classifying yourself? Is it preventing you from growing and evolving? Well, the answer to that question and more coming up when we talk a little bit more later in the show. Right now, let's get started on calibrating our energy together, right? And this is what the Me First morning routine is all about. We want to first calibrate our energy, and then we're ready to face the day and potentially any challenging conversations that may come up. Like today's, perhaps. Challenging for me, maybe not challenging for you, but it's going to open up certainly a conversation. Okay, so let us begin with lighting the candle and beginning our routine. Here we go. So this begins the sacredness of this ritual, right? The morning ritual of you taking time for yourself. I'm lighting the candle. Here we go. And I like to start my day with a little essential oils. And a routine like this, I like to keep it super simple. Um, just gets my body ready for what's coming, right? I want to add some relaxation. I want to ground myself. I want to connect to my inner guidance. And so this is a way to turn inward. I use my essential oils. I like to put some on the back of my neck. I like to put some in my hair because it makes it smell pretty. And I like to take a nice big whiff of the essential oil that I choose. In this case, I'm using sacred frankincense from Young Living, but I use many different ones. And so the candle initiates, that response that the body, like I talked about this yesterday, kind of like Pavlov's dog, right? You light the candle, you add the smell, and suddenly your body should start to relax once you've established it as a routine, right? So already once I grab the candle, my body is prepping for the next steps in this ritual. And that's the idea, so that you can already just have your body answer with, the physiology of your body already will respond to the triggers, right? The candle, the smell, all of a sudden it's like my body's like, I know it's coming. I'm ready for this and I'm excited. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's do our breathing. Oops. Okay. So grab your crystals if you like. If not, you can just put your hands on your lap, facing down or facing up, or you can hold your hands in a mudra or even in prayer position, whatever you feel connected to. And we're going to do this breathing, and we're also going to do an intentional prayer. So let's start with the breathing first. We're going to take 3 deep intentional breaths, and you are going to call in all the beautiful healing energy from the heavens, and you are going to also just soak in the beautiful healing energy from the earth. Just imagine that you are absorbing all of the beautiful healing light and energy that the universe has to provide for us. And we're going to let those energies blend from the heavens and from the earth in our body. And we're going to imagine that this beautiful healing light goes through your body and just breaks apart any stuck, stagnant, or dense energy. Anything that doesn't feel good, anything that doesn't belong, we're just going to break it up with a healing light. And then when we exhale, we are going to release any of that energy that does not serve us. And we're just going to intend that it goes off and it is transmuted by the power of the beautiful healing light, the angelic beings or spirit guides, however you want to look at it. We're just going to allow that energy to be transmuted and used for the highest and greatest good. Okay. But we don't want it in us stuck and stagnant, because that's not helpful. We got to keep energy moving. That's the whole point. Anything that's not being used, or anything that is keeping us stuck, anything that is stagnant, needs to be moved. That's why it's good to move. It's good to walk. It's good to breathe, because all of that will affect how your energy sits in your body. All right. So let's do 3 deep breaths. Ready? Okay, I had to breathe to breathe. Had to breathe to prep to breathe. Okay. Deep breath in. Hold for 5 seconds. And release. Okay, let's do that again. Take a deep breath in. And when you're breathing in, I want you to imagine that everything in your body is expanding to allow for that breath, right? You want to increase your capacity for breath, increasing your capacity for the energy that you can hold within your physical vessel. Okay, so let's do that again. We're going to imagine our diaphragm and our belly sort of rising and growing, and then we move up to the chest, and we just imagine it expanding as much as possible, and then up here expanding as much as possible, and then releasing. Okay, here we go. And hold and release. Great. One last time, deep breath in. And release. Okay. Now let's do a little stretching. Oh, yes, we got to stretch, because just as we sort of scrubbed all of that energy on the inside with the healing light that we imagined going in and doing its work, right? We also want to physically loosen and, remove the stiffness from our muscles, from our physical vessel in this way, right? So you got to stretch. Got to stretch your head. Stretch as much as you can. Of course, yoga is ideal for this. Nice, gentle yoga, which I'm a big fan of, or I became a big fan of after I went to Kripalu and became a big fan of gentle yoga. That is my kind of yoga, just stretching and feeling good and easing in, and turning and kind of loosening up those joints and that stiffness. So that's really important for you to do in the morning. And it can take as long as you want or as little as you want, right? What is that phrase? Anything worth doing is worth doing badly. And I say that, and I've been living by that, because sometimes we impose our perfectionist ideas, right? If I can't do it right, if I can't do the whole thing, if I can't do it all, I don't want to do it at all. Right? But that's not the way to do it. It's like, even if I can just do 2 minutes, it's 2 minutes of something that's good for me. And that's much better than doing no minutes of something that's good for me, right? So do whatever you can without judgment. Okay. That's the key to me first mornings is no judgment on what you can do. Just do your best. Just do your best, connect with yourself, see what you need, and respond to those needs. Okay, so now we did a little stretching and now we shake it out, right? Because now the same way that we, held in our breath and held the breath, allowed our capacity to increase, and then breathed out or exhaled anything that didn't serve us. Shaking it out serves as the same thing. So we stretch, right? Reducing some of that stiffness and stagnant energy that is attached to our physical vessel. And then you shake it out and just release it, just like your dog might do when, they move from one spot of the couch to the other. Or if something happens and they're not too happy with it, like when I clean blueberries, like I goop. After I'm done cleaning, he always does a shake because he wasn't too happy with it, but he knows it's good for him. And so that's how he kind of shakes off the part that he wasn't happy with. So you got to shake it off. Okay. So now that we've done all that, let us set our intentions with a prayer. So I don't know if you have a journal or a notebook, or if you just want to make mental note of what it is that you would like to accomplish today. What would you like to intend for your day? This is a great time to think about that GPS word or your GPS set list, and thinking about, which I talked about the other day, like having a song list or a song that encapsulates like what you want to feel, how you want to move through the world, what you want to embody for the day. So just think for a moment, what do I want to embody today? How do I want to show up for myself today? What am I intending for my experience today? So if you take a moment to think about that, and you can either jot it down or, like I said, make a mental note, then we're going to say this prayer and set the intention for your intention to be sort of at the forefront of your mind. And we're asking for support that the spirit guide, source, God, Jesus, whoever you feel connected to in the spiritual realm, we are calling for their support. It can be an ancestor. Maybe, I always have my grandmother. This is my God, or my godmother. This is my grandmother. They were sisters-in-law, and I always have them with me for spiritual support. And so I often call on them for their guidance and their support. You may have that too, even if you're, not really very spiritual, but maybe you might be very close to a past loved one or a loved one that has passed. You can call in for their support and just ask them to help you with your intention. So let's say that prayer together now, or you can say your own prayer or just say your own intention in your own way. All that matters is that you are saying what needs to be said for yourself. All right, here we go. Divine Mother, Infinite Father, Creator, Ascended Masters, Archangels, Spirit Guides, Ancestors, and all beings of 100% pure white light, allow me to be a clear and open channel of your light and love without hesitation or ego. May the highest vibration of love and light connect with my higher self and release any and all things that no longer serve me. And I ask that Saint Germain and his infinitely powerful violet flame release any and all things that no longer serve myself or humanity and hold us back from our divine existence. Help us to embody our intentions for the day and help us raise the collective vibration for the highest and greatest good of all. So be it, and so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, it's always good to start your day off with some gratitude. You can be grateful for whatever. It can be very general if you so desire, or you can be really specific. Thank you so much for guiding me on this day. Thank you so much for helping my physical specimen exist in this world. Thank you for helping me with any challenges that might arrive. You get the picture. Giving thanks, being grateful, being appreciative of your life, of your situation, whatever that might be right now, even if things aren't going the way you wish, right? That is the first step, acknowledging, okay, maybe things aren't the way I want, but what can I appreciate in my life right now? There's always something. There's always something. And if you focus on the appreciation of that tiny little thing that's going right, even if it feels like it's hardly nothing, when you focus on it, it grows. So the appreciation for life, for your situation, for all things will grow once you focus on that appreciation, when you focus on gratitude. And it's really tough. Some days it's really tough to be grateful, but that's why it's called a practice. We practice gratitude. We practice setting intentions. We practice a ritual or a routine in the morning that can calibrate our energy. It is a practice. And the more that you practice, the better you get at it, the more it will serve you, the easier it will be for you to calibrate and handle anything that comes your way. And that's really the key. Okay, so let's move on to pulling a card. Okay, I almost thought I forgot my cards. That would have been not tragic, but I would have had to leave here and get cards. But I always have some close. I have some on a table right over there. But I have my usual cards. And we're going to be talking soon enough about my own card deck that I've been working on. And I'm just like, telling you guys that it is happening and I am working on it. And I think you guys are going to like it. But I'm just talking about it and eventually I will present it. All right, so let's see here. Let's see what the cards have to say to us for today on this beautiful day of honoring our veterans, of remembering our service members who have passed on this beautiful 11/11 day, a powerful day. I actually had said on my birthday video when we talked about numbers, I talked about how I was going to talk. I mentioned that I was going to talk about my obsession with numerology, and then I never really got to it. So I am really obsessed with numbers, even though the entire thing that I did on my birthday was about how we can't let numbers rule us. And I don't let numbers rule me, but I'm fascinated by numbers, and also I feel a connection to them. So this beautiful 11/11 on 2021 is it's a powerful portal, or so I've been told. But it is a day. It is a day to reflect. It is a day to also take action. Every day is a day to take action, even if it's a tiny action. It's always time to do something. Sometimes that action is taking care of yourself. Like, for example, last night, my self-care action was going to sleep at a reasonable hour, even though I had a house full of people. But my husband was here and he got to, be on top of things. I had some kids over last night, which was really great. And I felt terrible, but I was exhausted and I went to sleep. And there's nothing wrong with that. All right. We're just chit-chatting here. Don't mind me. All right. I'm going to pull this card. I don't know. I feel so awkward shuffling today. What my energy is off. I just did the prayer. What's going on? All right, hold on. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm not kidding. I feel my energy off. I'm going to take one more deep breath because sometimes that's necessary. Okay, just needed to reset my energy. I think it's the conversation that's coming up. I'm a little nervous about talking about this. Mom and Dad, you guys are going to forgive me, of course, because I'm going to be talking about our stories together. But I love my mom and dad. And so, but, like anything else, there's always room for growing and for discussion and for evolving as a family. Whether or not you get along, you don't have to agree with absolutely everything that, each other say. The key is having respectful conversation as much as possible and listening with compassion. Okay. All right, here we go. So let's see. What do the cards have to say today? Oh, okay. Came upside down. Not sure what to make of that. So the card that I'm pulling up. Okay, Mom. My mom just said it's all good. You have my permission to let loose. Okay, so you heard it. It's here in writing in the text. Okay, in the comment section. All right. So the card here it's actually not. It's interesting. I can't see the number, but you guys can't see the number. So the number is 54, and it is encouragement. Now look at this encouragement. It's and there's my mom saying, you have my permission to let loose. So I'm getting encouragement today. Now, when it comes upside down, I've told you this before, it's like you pay attention to this message or it's a protection message, right? And I feel like the spirit of this card, right? The energy behind this card is to, encouragement is important, but you have to be able to function without the expectation of encouragement, right? Sometimes when we are walking our own path and our path is different than others, we want validation. We want other people to say, way to go, you're doing the right thing. I'm so proud of you. Whatever it is that you're looking for, we're often looking outside of ourselves for validation, for acceptance, for encouragement, but it's not always available to us. And that doesn't mean that what we're doing is wrong. It doesn't mean that what you're doing is a mistake. What you're doing may be something very different from anyone else around you. And they may not be able to give you encouragement because they are afraid for you, because they're nervous, because they're looking at whatever it is that you're doing through their own lens of, experience, their own lens of experience. And when we're talking about generations, for example, like my parents are, the generation before. Technically, I believe my parents fall into the boomer generation. I fall into the Generation X generation, and so there's going to be different experiences there's going to be evidence of different things in our lifetime. We experience things very differently at each stage of our life in different phases of how society has evolved. And so sometimes, and I'm not saying my parents don't encourage me, my parents are very encouraging, so that's not where it's going. But I do see that sometimes, myself included, but so many people that I talk to are looking for that encouragement, are looking for that permission, are looking for that validation. And what you have to understand is that sometimes you have to be the one to encourage yourself. You have to be the one to validate yourself. You have to be the one to advocate for yourself and for your needs and for your path and for your journey and for your expansion. Sometimes you have to fight your own battle and look around, and even though no one's there, you got to keep going. Just because there's no one cheering you along the way doesn't mean that you're going the wrong way, okay? And that's what I want you to understand more than anything is if you are clear on your vision, if you are clear on your mission, then keep going. Okay. So I'm saying you don't need encouragement and you need to encourage yourself, but I'm also here to tell you and to give you that encouragement that even if you aren't getting that validation from the external, right? From outside validation, outside of yourself, remember that the only validation and encouragement you truly need is within. And, this is when you can kind of ask for signs, ask for your guides, for God to send you signs to let you know that you're on the right path. Sometimes you may not see those signs either. Keep going. Just keep going. If you know in your heart it's the right thing to do, stop looking for permission. Stop looking for encouragement. Stop looking for validation. Just give it to yourself. Be there for yourself. Be your best friend in life. And when you are your biggest supporter, then everything that happens outside of you, it's almost irrelevant to a certain extent because you are solid in your foundation, you are solid in your conviction, and you are solid in your mission. And when you can do that, well, then you can do anything. Okay. Time to talk. I have like 6 minutes to have this conversation, but it's an important conversation. So we may talk about this again. But I do want to say that I got into this really interesting, passionate conversation. That's the best way to describe it. Passionate conversation with both my parents. And it came from me talking about, and you guys have heard me talk about it here, how I've come out, okay, as saying that I have ADHD or that I've come to realize that I have ADHD. And so it's something that I talk about from time to time. Now, I'm not here to tell you because I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So other than the definition of ADHD, as much as I know my dad would like me to explain what it is, I am not in a position to really go deep into what it is. What I can tell you, and this is this is what I'll say that I read. Okay, I read this. ADHD, I'm reading it to you now, and it was from my Kids Health website. It's actually kidshealth.org, okay? ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It is a medical condition. A person with ADHD has differences in brain development and brain activity that affects attention, the ability to sit still, and self control. ADHD can affect a child at school, at home, and in friendships. Okay, whatever. And there's like, it, kids with ADHD or people with ADHD can appear to be inattentive or hyperactive or impulsive or all three. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm not going to go into the details of exactly what, how it presents. I can tell you for me, it presents in many ways. And I had no idea I had ADHD. And this was how the conversation started with my mom, where she was like, well, I didn't think anything was wrong with you. You seem to function just fine growing up. Okay. Now, first of all, I want to say, and this is to her credit, she, she is going from the perspective of perhaps feeling like she missed something while I was growing up. Like if I'm coming out and saying that I have ADHD now, like, it's possible that my parents are thinking like, oh man, we missed something if now she feels like, she connects with this. But there was nothing missing. And not only was there nothing missing, there's nothing wrong. Okay. In my case, and in many cases of things that we come to discover about ourselves, and in my generation, I really think that through our children, we've come to realize where there is a level of support with neurodiversity, and with many, many other things, of course, where we are sort of labeling things. And I've had this discussion, not just with my parents, but with many, many people, especially when we're talking about an older generation that's like, oh, there's all these labels and you're this and you're that and you're just the way you are. Why do you have to have a label? Right. And my dad, and I had a discussion about his perspective is that a label can be limiting, right? A label is boxing you in. Why do you have to label it? Why do you have to put yourself in this category? And so here's what I have to say to that. So my personal experience, and I'm coming from my experience, was that nothing is different for me now that I've come to realize that I have the ADHD. Now, I say I come to realize because I was not diagnosed. I have no interest in diagnosing and getting officially diagnosed because in my particular case, that diagnosis is not going to serve me in any way unless I was interested in potentially taking medication, which at this point, I don't have the need for it. It does exist as a need for many, many people who, it may be debilitating. But for me and for many other people, and especially I have so many friends who have come to realize the same thing, that we're kind of, we think differently, we process things differently. Growing up, a lot of I don't even want to say it's limitations, but what ADHD, how it presents in me as a woman, and especially now as a mom of three boys, is there are certain things that I really need to look out for in myself, right? Because I have a hard time keeping track of things. I have a hard time focusing on certain things that are not in my direct focus, right? So it's not that I have a problem focusing because I can be super, super, uber hyper focused on something, but then everything else around me will kind of fall apart while I'm focused on the thing that I'm doing. So I have to have measures in place in order for me to keep myself in check, to be able to function in the, regular world, right? So in a perfect world where we could all just be who we are without any limitations or judgment, right? I would just, function the way I function and not even give it a second thought. But the way society and the day-to-day life is structured is I have to be structured. I have to know when things are coming up. I have schedules that I need to stick to. I have responsibilities that I need to make sure that I'm staying on top of. And so I have to manage my day accordingly so that I can accomplish these things. Now, before I realized that I potentially had the ADHD, or before I connected to the ADHD label, I really beat myself up a lot. I really things slipped through the cracks. I found myself flighty. I definitely identify with hot mess very often. I I can absolutely like focus and clean my house and it be spotless. And at the same time, I can let 2 weeks go by and my house is a disaster and looks like there was a tornado. And I really beat myself up for being that way until I realized, oh, it's not that I'm lazy. It's not that I'm have a lack of disorganization. Well, I do, but it's not because I don't want to. And here's the difference for me. What the difference made was that I realized that I wasn't doing these things because I am a rebel, or I wasn't doing these things because I'm irresponsible, or I wasn't doing, choosing to procrastinate, because I couldn't do something, but it was more the way I manage my life. And it's the way I manage my thoughts. And it's the way I process the information that comes to me. Now, on the one hand, it is amazing. The way I process information is what makes me really good at what I do on a day to day basis. It's what makes it easy for me to go with the flow. So there's a lot of benefits, but I have to be aware of where the limitations are so that I can really build my day in a way that works for me, where I am thriving, not just surviving. And really, the key to that is my perspective. My perspective. Your perspective is the only thing that matters. And I really want to send a message out here. And, I wish I had more time for this because I'm definitely going over, but I'm going to keep going over because it's important. It is not your job as a person outside of whoever, right? It is not your job to label someone else, right? We don't get to label other people. And that's really where the problem lied for me, because I never liked being labeled. I didn't like being put in a box. I didn't like being categorized. But once a label is supportive in a way that this label helps me to be kinder and more compassionate to myself or to others, then it's important to acknowledge, right? And it's important to acknowledge because with ADHD, there's this energy around this diagnosis, I guess, right? And there's an energy around, ADHD and being that kind of a person. So I wanted to acknowledge that energy, right? All energy wants to be seen, wants to be witnessed and acknowledged. So I go, oh, hey, you're not broken. You have ADHD. Oh, you're not broken. You have, autism. Oh, you're not broken. You have this. I mean, if you get a medical diagnosis like, diabetes, it's like, oh, you're not, well, you're not broken. You just need some support in this area. And I stopped and laughed because it's like, okay, well, something like diabetes, you could feel broken, right? Because something's not working in your body. But if we stop thinking about broken, we stop thinking about fixing, and we start thinking about it as, okay, here is who I am, here is what I am, here is how I function, and we embrace and accept everything that comes with that, then we're moving through the world more authentically, without protection, without like, it's like, oh, I don't want to say that I have this, or I don't want to say that I have that. Somebody may not understand. Somebody may judge me. Somebody may not, I really have always wanted to kind of throw labels and judgment out the window. And I've never been one to appreciate being, pointed at and being told that I am one thing or another. But I can tell you one thing, that when you take ownership of a label, right? When you identify as something or as someone, and that connects you to your essence, then you do it. Then you own it. You can name it and you can claim it. And that's a beautiful thing, right? And what's more importantly, in a message that I have for all of you, in a conversation that, like I had with my parents yesterday, it doesn't matter whether or not you understand the label that I connect with. The only thing, as somebody who loves and supports me, is to acknowledge that this is how I identify and be supportive of that fact. Don't try to convince me that I'm not. Don't try to tell me how it must not be the case because I'm not broken. I'm not broken. I'm the same person I was, a little older, a little more evolved than I was when I was younger. The only reason that it even came up as a diagnosis right now, or even came up as something in my field of vision, was because I started struggling. Because when you process things the way I do, when I only had myself to take care of, then no big deal, right? I have myself, I have enough tools to manage it. I can mask it easily, right? I can function. I can seem like a perfectly functioning human being, which I am a perfectly functioning human being. But there are some places where I feel challenged, right? Now, that's nothing wrong with me. That's just the way it's like, oh, I don't quite fit into the way things are done. I have to figure out how to do things my own way. But I didn't really force myself to figure out how to do things my own way until I had children. And all of a sudden now, I'm not just responsible for myself, but I'm responsible for 3 other people. And if I can't figure out how to function well, then I can't help them function either. And so that's like a side note as to, my particular situation. But I really, really want to impress upon you one more time. If you have a loved one who comes to you and says, I have this, I am that, then your job as a supportive, loving member, or the person that you're in a relationship with, is to say, okay, I love you. How can I support you? I love you. You know, is there anything I can do to support you with this? That's really the only job. Okay, hold on. Mom. My mom says acceptance is the main/first step to dealing with any condition. Yes. Not really a condition, but I suppose a state of mind. It is a neurodivergent issue. I don't really know how to talk about it because, like, I don't see it as a problem, but yet I think my parents are having a little bit of a problem. Not my mom has got it. My dad, okay. I guess I'm right. The label sometimes damage does not help. That's my view. The label sometimes damages does not help. That's right. Well, because okay, so my dad thinks that the label can be damaging, right? And I'm assuming, Dad, you're talking about because then people can pigeonhole you, right? Then people can judge you because once you identify with this label, other people who may or may not understand the label are going to judge you. I'm guessing this is where you're coming from. Um, and that may be true, right? That may be true. And part of the discussion yesterday was that my dad was concerned that people are going to hear ADHD, not know what it is, and think something's wrong with me. And you know what? That's okay. People can think something's wrong with me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me at all whether or not people think something's wrong with me, because the most important thing for me is that I show up as authentically as possible. And so when I connected with ADHD, it was such a relief. It was such a relief to me personally to finally identify what was where I was struggling, right? And then realizing that I was struggling for a really good reason, because I'm not made that way, right? I'm not made that way. And I think that that's the case for so many people who are identifying with one thing or another, or giving themselves a label or not. And I think showing up and owning who you are and taking ownership of a label that you connect with is another way that you can also connect with other people who also identify with that label. And then you can sort of form a community and say, hey, you too? Oh my God, me too. I'm struggling too. Or I identify with that too. Hey, why don't we talk about this? Why don't we bring more awareness to it? Like, the ADHD was not a discussion when I was a kid. It's not my parents' fault that I'm only discovering it now. Who the hell talked about that when we were kids? It was like, like, you don't get good grades, you work hard, it's okay, no big deal, right? And my parents were super supportive. I have nothing bad to say about them in terms of the way I was raised. I never felt anything. They never made me feel bad about myself in those terms. It was the pressure that I put on myself and how I looked at my circumstances that was the issue. I felt like I was struggling. I felt like I was stupid. I felt like I was lazy. I felt like I was, this terrible procrastinator, and I couldn't muster, the energy to be able to do things, earlier or sooner. And I couldn't figure out why. And I beat myself up all the time. And, when I was out of school, it wasn't so bad. But then once I got kids, that whole feeling of inadequacy came back with a vengeance. And I'm like, okay, I suck. I can't do this. I can't manage this. I'm not meant to be, a mom of 3 children because I clearly can't handle it. But that wasn't the case at all. I just need to approach it from a different perspective and acknowledging that ADHD is a part of how I'm made up has helped me. And that's my whole mission and my whole purpose here for you and with me First Mornings is recognize who you are, accept who you are, embrace who you are. Now, that doesn't mean that you got to stay where you are. I mean, ADHD is not something you get over. You either have it or you don't because it's how your brain functions. So I'm never going to get through or, evolve or heal from ADHD, okay? It doesn't work that way. I don't need to heal from it. I don't need to fix it. I don't need to change it. What I need to do is acknowledge that that is how I function, right? If I was born missing a limb, I wouldn't be like, damn it, I don't have a limb. I mean, I might, I don't know. But you just kind of figure out how to well, you're going to be upset about it your whole life, or you're going to figure out how to function without that limb or without that whatever it is that you think you have, whatever it is that you think you're missing. You're not missing anything. I don't know what is going on with you and your life, but whatever you think you're missing, you're not. You're not missing it because you have it within you. Everything you need to function, everything you need to accomplish your mission, everything you need to step into the person who you already are, to make the choices and decisions that you need to achieve everything you need to achieve. You have come with that hardware. It is already installed. You come with that, okay? That is your frequency, right? But you can evolve from there, right? Kids play video games all the time and you have the main character, the main skin, and then there's the evolved version of the character. And so they change and they shift. We all evolve. But when it comes down to it, the foundation is the same. ADHD, I will always have it, right? But maybe I'm going to be able to learn how to work with it a little bit better, where it doesn't feel like a deficit at all, right? Sometimes it does feel like a deficit. Sometimes it does feel like, oh man, I'm really struggling. But let me tell you, having it really has also helped me to evolve as a spiritual person. It has helped me evolve energetically. It has helped me to, improve my senses, all of my senses, my clairs, those are all things that work into how my brain works and makes it easier for it to work in the way that it is intended for me to function. It may not work for you, it may not work for somebody else, but it's all about embracing and accepting who we are. And once again, if someone you love comes up to you and tells them, hey, I have this, I am this, please call me this, then as a person who loves and cares for the other person who is telling you this, you say yes. Thank you. Thank you for telling me. How can I support you? Oh, you want me to call you by this name? Oh, you want me to call you by this pronoun? Oh, okay, you have ADHD, no problem. I don't know what that feels like for you, but if there's any way that I can support you, let me know. I love you. That's it. That's your job. Loving anyone in your life, having a relationship with anyone in your life, don't question their label that they identify with. Just accept the label that they have given you, that they acknowledge, that they identify with. And that that is the thing, people. Don't, that's where the validation comes from, right? I don't need you, as somebody who cares about me to be like, no, you're not. You're fine. Of course I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me, right? Oh, no, you're not. Oh, even coming up with discussions with anyone who is, discussing their sexuality, right? Oh, especially with young kids. I have kids and that's a big discussion, not just in my house, but other people. It's very much out in the open. And, if a young kid comes up to you and says, I'm gay, don't be like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You just don't know yet. Doesn't matter. You don't question. If your child comes up to you and says, I am gay, I am bi, I am pan, I am, please refer to me as she, and, or please refer to me as whatever, you do. That's how you love somebody. You let them go through the process that they need to go through, and you accept them on their word, and you validate them for who they are. Now, I know ADHD and, coming out as gay are completely different ends of the spectrum in seriousness, but this is about validation. This is about acknowledging the validation that we all need. And so if somebody you love tells you something, and I know I've said this again and I'm going to say it again, if somebody you love tells you, here is how I want you to approach me from now on. Here is how I want you to, acknowledge me. Here is what I need from you. I need you to accept that this is who I am. Then you say, yes, my love. Yes, absolutely. And that's it. Okay. If you have any questions, if you want to see me and my dad have a debate live on camera, then drop an emoji. I know he would love to, my dad. I get my debating skills from my father, definitely, and from my mother. We all have like really good, passionate conversations. And no matter what, whether or not you agree or disagree with the people in your life, love them, have compassion, have forgiveness in your heart, because everybody's just doing the best that they can. And everybody's looking at their lens, at life through their lens, through their experience. And it could be very different. But if you love the person and you're compassionate and you're kind, then we can all learn and we can all grow and we can all evolve together. And if each one of us grows with compassion and evolves with kindness, then imagine what kind of society we can build together. If we are just a little kinder, if we are just a little gentler, if we are just a little more accepting of each other and our differences and our perspectives. Okay, that's the message. Dad, I love you so much. Thank you for letting me air out our discussion. Mom, I love you too. Yes, debating, we are very good at it in our family, and it's one of the most fun things we do is get into heated debates. And which is why I always miss my parents when I don't see them for too long, because it's too long without the debates. Okay, this episode went way, way too long. It was an important discussion. Thank you for staying with me. I am here every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. I usually finish by 10:30. I appreciate your time. I value you as a watcher of my show. And feel free to reach out if you need me at any time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.